Hey there, friend. Elyssa Smith here. I am ready to help you walk through how to unlock your blocks today. Thank you for joining us. We are going to be talking today about self sabotage. What is it? Where might it be showing up that you're not recognizing it? And how do we get around it to the other side? I want to ask you a question. Did you know that procrastination, perfectionism, people pleasing, imposter syndrome, and negative self talk all are forms of self sabotage? Now, self sabotage, the way that we use it on this podcast is anything that you are doing consciously or unconsciously that gets in the way of your true aligned goals. Now, this could be that you're doom scrolling on your phone, you're keeping yourself up past your bedtime, and then the next morning you don't have the energy to work out like you promised yourself you would. This could also be bigger things like you own a business and you know that you need to show up on socials, but you suddenly have laundry to do as soon as you know that it's time to create your socials. I'm raising my hand. That also has been me. So join our club of women who recognize that they've got some self sabotagey tendencies. And if you're feeling sabotagey, I've got some answers for you today. So, the first thing I want you to understand about self sabotage is that any of those behaviors, they are signs that you are in survival mode. Everybody raise your hand if you're experiencing survival mode. I've got two hands, 2 feet. We all experience this. And it's really something that is unique to each person, exactly what our defaults are in that stressed out mode. But there are some things that are the same across all humans with how our brain responds to stress. So we're just going to talk for a couple of minutes about that aspect of this. So if you are feeling stress, your body, your nervous system cannot tell the difference between I'm 5 minutes late for an appointment, or I forgot to grab my kids' lunch before I dropped them off at school, or oh my gosh, there's a bear chasing me and I'm going to be eaten for lunch. It doesn't know the difference. It assumes everything is the latter. It assumes that we are always being chased by a wild animal. And this is super helpful because think about cave woman days, right? You're in your cave, a bear shows up, a saber-toothed cat shows up, and it gives you everything you need to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn your way to safety. We get into that sympathetic nervous system response. That's what that's called, the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Now, that's a great thing when you need your life saved. Not so helpful when we are trying to get a million things done, trying to drop off the kids, trying to get to work, trying to, get the house ready for people to come over later, whatever it is, and you don't have access to other major systems that one would not need were one actually being chased by a wild animal. So here's what happens: the systems that turn off when the survival mode is happening. Okay, so survival mode is prompted by your nervous system when it feels stress. It tells your right brain, your survival brain, hey, we're going to die. So you're going to need to ramp things up a little bit on some areas. And the survival brain says, cool, let's conserve some energy. Let's not be doing things like fighting off the flu if we're running to the nearest tree to get away from the predator. Let's not digest stuff. So, your digestive system, your reproductive system, your immune system, these are things that you don't need for that short sprint or that short fight for your life if you're being actually attacked by an animal. But you need those things to be to stay intact if you're experiencing regular stress on a daily basis. You don't want your system to be experiencing that like a life or death threat, because the other thing, get this, this is the other thing that goes offline when you're stressed: your rational brain, your logical thinking, your higher level decision making goes away momentarily and takes a back seat, because right brain says, I got this, left brain, don't worry, I don't need you right now, because no one's trying to do higher level calculus at the moment, because we got this threat that we're going to save our life from. But on your day-to-day basis, if you are 5 minutes late to an appointment and that's the stressor and it's not a life or death thing, guess what you need? You need your higher level decision making to be on point. So if you experience things like brain fog, overwhelm, like a freeze moment when you see how much is on your to-do list, or when somebody throws a curveball at you, this is your survival system trying to save your life from like a gnat, like a tiny fly. It's using a huge wild animal, bear-sized coping mechanism for something that doesn't require it. But back in the cavewoman days, we could just sort of experience that threat. We would look around, okay, we got to the tree, and then we look around and then the threat is over. So then our regular thinking comes back. Well, now if we are constantly experiencing notifications on the phone, people trying to get a hold of us, work deadlines, things that you are out of your control and you're getting hit with it, the news even just on a daily basis, politics, whatever it is, your nervous system is under constant attack and it will perceive every attack as a level 10 out of 10. So, when that sympathetic nervous response happens and you're stuck in your fight, flight, freeze, fawn, guess what else accompanies those things? Other protector parts like self sabotage, that's more subtle, but it's things like the procrastination, the people pleasing, perfectionism, all those good things. What you want to do, if you can notice these things happening, you notice your coping mechanisms popping out, your procrastination, perfectionism, all those, imposter syndrome. The negative self talk is a really good one to watch for, but it's sneaky because it's in your mind. You think it's you saying these things to yourself, and you just think it's your thoughts. It's actually a part of your brain that is sending the thoughts, and it's trying to keep you safe. So when you notice all of this happening, notice that your brain is sending you a signal. We feel unsafe. Your nervous system feels unsafe. And that's how you can start this recovery process from the sabotage, is to just, when you're doom scrolling, or if you're keeping yourself up late at night and you know you need to be going to bed on time, or if you, whatever else the thing is that you're just, this is my go to coping sabotage method. We all have them. Trust me, join the club. When you notice it's happening, the most helpful thing you can actually do is to take a breath and to just notice, oh, my brain is feeling unsafe right now. I must be experiencing some stress that feels overwhelming. How compassionate is that? Imagine if someone in your life, every time you were stressed, could just stop and notice and say, wow, you seem stressed. Do you want to take a deep breath? And guess what? That person can just be you. Now, I was talking to a client the other day, and when I work with women, they come to me typically because their work-life balance is out of whack, or they're having trauma responses inside their bodies. And we'll get into traumas and things like that. And unrecognizable trauma is a really important one, the hidden traumas. We'll get into that in a later episode. But for the most part, when women are coming, they have these symptoms of, I have a client that recently she was doom scrolling on her phone, but she was doing it at work and she knew that she was too distracted and that it was going to really cause a problem for her work life and couldn't figure out why she was doing it. I've had other clients that come in and I have one woman who works with me one-to-one, and she's like, I know I'm keeping myself up too late at night because it's sabotaging my efforts to work out the next day, or to get up early and have some quiet time to myself. And so when you start to notice your signature coping mechanisms, if you could be that person that you stop and you just say, hey, you're feeling really stressed, aren't you? Let's stop and take a deep breath. That is your first step on the road to completely melting away these protector parts that are coming to your rescue in those moments. Now, to understand a little bit about where the protector parts come from can be really handy. So we'll get into that a little bit right now. So as an adult, your survival brain assumes that your needs are in the hands of everyone else, because your survival brain is actually a really primal, sort of young part of us, and it develops in childhood. Now, in childhood, we are actually born with all of our trust intact. We're born with our true self intact. And what that means is we're born asking for our needs to be met. But the first time a need goes unmet, and it could be a small need, it could be a huge need, like food insecurity in childhood or abuse. It could be a tiny need, like we had a loss and no one showed us how to experience sadness or how to help ourselves come back to joy. It doesn't really matter how big the experience of not getting your need met was. Your brain starts to say, oh, so there's this true self part that is not hacking it. We need to work harder, be better, and do more. Let's then procrastinate or push things off, and then we will know that we can delay people's judgment of us. We got to keep everyone happy. In our brain's mind, if we have a need that goes unmet, it must be our fault, because that's how a little kid's brain survives. That's how we thrive, is by not believing that the environment can't change. It's believing that we are the problem and we must change. So when that happens, we create these protector parts that in adulthood are still assuming that we can't meet our own needs for love, connection, all of our basic Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Our food, our water, our shelter, our clothing. And so in childhood, we develop these beliefs that we can't risk judgment or it puts our needs in peril. So then we have procrastination, perfectionism, imposter syndrome, people pleasing, all of them. The whole lineup can stem from a belief that we can't risk someone else's judgment because if we do, then that means that we won't get our basic needs met. Another thing we might believe is that people need to like and approve of us. Another one is that we need to keep everyone else happy in order to have our own needs met. My dreams, my goals are not as important as keeping the balance of people's happiness around me. Now, where this gets tricky and where we're going to dive into this a little bit more in future episodes is we all have a limited window of tolerance for change. And a window of tolerance is the amount of space, the amount of change that you can create in your behavior, even if it's good change, right? Like, I'd like to stop procrastinating. That change might be too big. It might throw you into survival mode. So we want to stay within your window of tolerance for the change to make sure that your systems aren't going to sabotage you and keep you from growing. So it's a really gentle process. You can't just try harder at doing the things you know to do. You actually have to ease your survival brain into letting go of the reins and believing that you are not being chased by a wild animal. So today, here's your takeaway. I want to give you three little things, three tiny baby steps that you can take that are going to help you start on this path to relaxing your survival system right now. Okay, I call this the 3S framework. The first S is safety. So the second you notice that you're stressing, I want you to take this into account and start doing these things. The first S is safety. And this means you need to stop doing whatever it is that's triggering the stress for just a moment and take 3 deep breaths. Okay. We don't exactly know why it's 3, but 3 seems to be the magic number of how to reset your survival system in the moment for just a little bit of time. It'll buy you a few minutes of sanity, a few minutes of peace, and it'll be long enough to get your left brain, your logical brain back re-engaged so you can actually get some stuff done and be productive. The second S is self-nurturing. I used to say it was self-care, but that's a fluffy term these days. It is not very specific. So self-nurturing I love because it means nurture your 5 senses. One of the things you can do that knocks out knocks out, that sounds a little violent. Let's not knock out our 4 or 5 senses. That addresses nurturing 4 of the 5 senses is making yourself a nice cup of warm beverage that you like. So it could be tea, it could be coffee, it could just be warm water with lemon. It could be whatever feels refreshing to you. But that covers 4 out of 5 senses and it will convey to your brain without using words because your survival brain doesn't understand. You can't talk yourself out of stress, right? Like you can know logically that you're not actually in danger and you cannot tell that to your stomach ache that is there with your anxiety. So self-nurturing and breathing, these are the 2 ways that we can convey without words to the survival brain, we're safe. Because think about it. You can kind of logic your survival brain. Like we wouldn't be able to breathe nice and slowly if we were being chased by a wild animal. We wouldn't be able to stop and make a cup of tea if our life were in danger. And then the third S is safe support. And this is like find that one person in your life or those 2 or 3 people who just know you, they love you, they accept you for exactly who you are and reach out to one of them. Your brain needs to know that you're a part of a herd, a part of a pack. And when it knows that, it will relax and start to let go of some of these sabotaging behaviors. I really hope that helps you. I hope you'll join us again. We've got some really juicy, good stuff coming up in future episodes. And it's all designed like this to give you short, punchy explanations and discoveries about yourself, your survival brain, and your nervous system, and how to help you go from good girl, nice girl who's always done everything for everyone else to the woman who is fully fulfilled, being able to be kind and fulfill her role in the world as authentically as she possibly can and live for her dreams. We'll see you next time.